They didn't bury her in the ground. They buried her in stone. No priest, no grave, no final rites. Just walls, 4 of them, tall and damp and cruel, thick enough to hold in the screams, high enough to block out the sky. It is December 1610. The wind outside howls across the Carpathians, biting into the bones of those who dare to wander too close to the fortress of Countess. But within these walls, the cold is stiller, heavier. It clings to the skin like mildew. It does not move. It simply waits. And so does she. Elizabeth Báthory, once the most powerful woman in Hungary, now sits in silence. No longer in court, no longer among candles or courtiers or the rustle of silks. Her throne is gone, her mirrors shattered, her name spat out in the streets like rot from a wound. All that remains is this cell, sealed from the outside with bricks and mortar. No door, no way out. Just a narrow slit in the wall, barely wide enough to slide in a crust of bread. Even that only comes when the guards remember. Some days they forget. There is a bed, wooden, small, not fit for a countess. There is a bucket, there is darkness, and there is time. In the beginning, she tried to keep count. 1 loaf meant 1 day, 2 loaves, 2 days, then a day with no bread at all, then a day with 2 again, then none, then 1, then nothing for a while. It slipped. Time became mud, and the mud swallowed her. She speaks to herself sometimes. Not aloud, just enough to feel the vibration behind her teeth. It's better than silence. In silence, the walls begin to speak instead. They whisper about the girls, the ones who vanished, the ones who screamed, the ones who bled, the ones whose eyes would not close, even in death. Elizabeth presses her hands to her ears, but the whispers are not outside. They are inside. They are memories. She tells herself they were liars, thieves, servants, dirty girls with bad manners and sharper tongues than was proper. She punished them. That was her right. A noble woman must maintain order in her household. What was a slap, a needle, a cold bath in the middle of winter? Discipline. That's all it ever was, wasn't it? But then she remembers the other things. The things not spoken aloud in court. The things her handmaids buried in the garden by torchlight. The stains that never came out of the floorboards. The strange, giddy laughter that came over her when she smelled blood. How it smelled like iron and roses. They accused her of killing 600 girls. 600. She laughs at that now. A dry, bitter laugh. Her throat cracks when she does it, for it hasn't known laughter in weeks. 600? Who could count that high? She remembers their faces in flashes. A girl with red ribbons in her braid. A girl with a crooked tooth and a birthmark on her hip. A girl with pale hands. A girl who cried for her mother in a language Elizabeth didn't understand. She remembers the way their flesh gave way beneath her rings. Sometimes she dreams of them. Not of the killing, not always, but of the moments after. When the girls lay still, when their mouths were open but said nothing, and she could finally hear her own breath. Those moments were peaceful, almost holy, like snow falling on a battlefield. Now there is no battlefield, no ritual, no ceremony, just the echo of what she was. She tries to recall her own youth, her days as a bride, barely 13, betrothed to a man who would die before he turned 40. She remembers the wedding feast, her first taste of spiced wine, the weight of the crown, the smell of hot wax on the altar. She remembers how her husband taught her to be cruel, to make fear a weapon sharper than any sword. He gifted her a castle. She filled it with silence. After his death, the silence grew teeth. Some say she went mad. That grief drove her to violence. Others say she was always like this, that the devil touched her when she was still in the cradle, that she made a pact with witches, that she bathed in blood to preserve her beauty. She smiles when she thinks of that last one. Blood is warm for only a moment. Then it cools. Then it clots. Then it stinks. There is no beauty in that. She has not seen her face in months. There are no mirrors here, only the memory of one. Once she tried to scratch her reflection into the wall with a nail. Just a pair of eyes, a mouth. But the stone would not take her image. Even now it rejects her. She lies on her bed and runs her fingers over the grooves in the wall. The stone is cold and pitted and unkind. It does not remember her either. Outside, her children live on. Her estates have been seized. The crown has stripped her name from its records. The church will not speak of her. Her portraits have been hidden or burned. Her castle sold. Her lovers scattered. Her enemies satisfied. She thinks of the priest who visited her once before the door was bricked shut. He didn't look her in the eye. He offered her a final confession. She said nothing. He left without a blessing. She did not need forgiveness, only freedom. Now she has neither. She dreams in colors, red mostly, and black, sometimes silver like moonlight on armor, but never green, never blue. Those were sky colors, and there is no sky here. Once she thought she heard birds, just a flutter of wings beyond the slit in the wall. But it was only a bat, she thinks now, or her imagination. Imagination is dangerous in a place like this. It makes you hope. She hears footsteps sometimes, on the other side. Guards perhaps, servants, or ghosts. But they never speak. They never look in. They slide the bread through the wall, and then they are gone. She does not bother to call out anymore. The air is thick. Her lungs rasp when she breathes. She sleeps more often. She wakes confused. Her hair has grown long and matted. Her nails are broken. Her gowns have decayed into rags. There is no light to see by, but she can feel the threads unraveling. She knows she is dying, but it is slow, cruel, thoughtful. This is the punishment they chose for her. Not death, but stillness. Not execution, but erasure. She is being turned into a myth, one day at a time. She wonders if, in 100 years, anyone will believe she was real, if they will say she was a demon, or a queen, or just a woman who was left alone for too long. Her body aches. She curls in on herself. She waits, and the walls whisper still. She no longer knows when the dreams began to bleed into the waking. At first, they came at night, or what she called night, for there was no sun here, only the slow dimming of her breath, the curling of her limbs into the thin blankets that no longer warmed her. In those hours, the dreams came quietly. Familiar voices floating just beyond the edge of sleep, faces pressed to her walls, mouths open, eyes missing. The voices laughed, sang, screamed. But in the morning they were gone, and the silence returned, heavier than before. Now the dreams stay. Even when she is awake, they linger, hovering behind her eyes, shifting like fog in the corners of the cell. She sees them when she blinks, hears them when she breathes. Girls, so many of them, pale and bruised, hair stuck to their faces with sweat and blood. Some with no faces at all, some with too many. She does not scream, not anymore. There is no one to hear. She talks to them instead. She gives them names, names she made up or half remembers or stole from saints. Catalin, Ilona, Zuzana, Dorothea. She speaks to them softly like children, as if they were hers. Sometimes they answer. It has been months, maybe years. There are no more loaves of bread, just the damp stones and the ache in her belly, and the memory of power that once filled her like wine. There was a time when the world bowed to her, when noblemen sent their daughters to her court to be educated, when she wrote letters in 6 languages and dined with kings. She remembers those days in flashes, the weight of velvet, the scent of orange blossoms in her garden, the delicate sting of perfume on her wrists. She remembers the games too. She remembers choosing, always at night, when the castle was quiet and the wine was warm. She would walk among the girls, the new ones, fresh from the villages, their eyes wide and afraid. She would touch their hair, their cheeks, lifting their chins with one finger. This one. No, that one. She liked the ones who flinched the most. She had instruments, not many, not at first. A comb made of bone, a rod of iron. She preferred needles, thin, sharp, clean. There was an artistry in it, the way the skin split, the way they begged. At some point, it stopped being about punishment. She cannot say when. There were others, of course. Women who helped her, cleaned up, looked the other way, some who joined in. But they were tried, beheaded, burned. Only she was spared the fire. Only she was too noble to kill. So they sealed her here, in the dark, in her own silence. There is a crack in the wall near the floor, tiny, no more than a finger's width. She found it weeks ago, or longer. She ran her nails along it, peeled back a corner of stone, and found it. A piece of glass, just a sliver. Part of the mirror that once stood in her chamber, before they took it down, before they bricked her in. She holds it now in her palm like a relic. She looks into it when she dares. What she sees is not her. It is something else. The woman in the glass is thin, her cheeks hollow, her lips cracked. Her hair is dull and crawling with knots. Her eyes black around the edges, yellow at the center. Not violet anymore, not royal, not even human. She does not cry. She has forgotten how. She touches her reflection and her fingers shake, not from fear, from cold. Her skin is so thin now she can feel the stone beneath it, the bones pressing outward like branches against wet cloth. She imagines peeling it off like a snake, emerging new, untouched, clean. She wonders if that's what the girls felt in those last moments, the ones who begged her to stop, the ones who didn't. Did they see her as a savior, a judge, a devil? She does not know what she is now. She dreams again of the garden, her favorite garden, the one behind the eastern wing of the castle, a place where no blood was ever spilled. She sees herself walking barefoot on the grass. The sun is warm, a breeze moves the trees, and she is young again. Then the grass turns to ash, the trees burn, and the girls rise from the earth, white as marble, their mouths stitched shut. She wakes with a scream caught in her throat, a silent scream. There is no one left to hear her. The dreams begin to rot. In one of them, she is standing in her ballroom. It is full of corpses, dressed in finery, dancing in slow, creaking circles. Their jaws click, their eyes ooze, but they all turn to her as she enters, and they bow, and they smile, and they say in one voice, "You are our mother." She cannot wake fast enough. The stone beneath her mattress is wet, not from rain. There is no rain here, just the walls. They sweat in the cold, like flesh, like fever. She dreams of doors, long corridors, keys, but her hands are always too small to turn the locks. She no longer prays. The prayers stopped when the candle did. She remembers the priest again, the one who would not meet her gaze, the one who offered her a blessing through gritted teeth. She imagines him dead now, or retired, or preaching to peasants in some village where her name is still spoken in horror. She once told him she had done what she had to, that in a world ruled by men, a woman must rule by fear. He said nothing. She remembers her husband, Ferenc Nadasti, the Black Knight of Hungary. He was cruel too. He taught her how. He sent her whips from the battlefield, soaked in blood. A love token. He killed Turks. She killed girls. She wonders if that was their bond. He died young, She did not weep. She wore black, of course. She lit candles. She wrote the letters. But inside, she felt only the thrill of finally being free. She would not be a widow. She would be a queen. She did not become a queen, only a monster. That word, they used it in court. Shurnyategg, monster, beast, demon. She had no chance to answer, no defense. The king wanted her gone. The church wanted her erased. Her name was too powerful to be tried, but too dangerous to be left alive. So they buried her in her own home, alive. She whispers to the mirror now, not words, just sounds, like breath, like wind, like memory. Sometimes she hears answers, not from the walls, from below, from the floor, a scratching, faint, like something moving in the stones. She presses her ear to the ground. She thinks she hears breathing, soft, shallow, steady. Maybe the rats have found her, or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's them, the girls, digging their way up. She closes her eyes and waits. The breath beneath the floor is gone now. For days, she pressed her ear to the stone, listening, hoping, or fearing. But the sound has faded. Perhaps it was never there. Perhaps the breathing was only her own, echoing off damp stone and desperate thoughts. Still, the silence is worse. There is a weight to this kind of silence. It sits on her chest, presses against her ribs like a thumb to a bruise. Her lungs resist, her heart slows. It has been slowing for some time. The bread hasn't come, not for 3 days, or 5, or 10. She's lost count again. She tries not to think of hunger. Hunger is a familiar friend now. It coils in her gut like a waiting snake. It no longer bites. It watches. She is weak. She knows this. Her hands shake when she reaches for the bucket. Her knees buckle when she stands. Her voice, once sharp as crushed glass, now trembles like old parchment in wind. She does not speak much anymore, even to herself. The girls have gone quiet. Their faces still drift through the dark sometimes, but their mouths stay closed, eyes open, watching, waiting, judging. She feels their silence more than she ever felt their screams. She no longer dreams of gardens or silk or velvet. She no longer remembers what her palace looked like from the outside. The faces of her children are blurring, once so bright, now fog. She wonders if they still speak of her, if the villagers below still shudder at her name, if mothers whisper stories of her to keep their daughters from wandering into the woods at night, or if she's been forgotten entirely. She wonders which is worse. There is a sound she cannot name. It comes from within, a slow grinding, like wood on stone. Perhaps it's her bones. Perhaps it's time. She curls into herself, folding her limbs like paper, like memory, like death. She lies on the bed but does not sleep. She's too tired to rest. Her body is failing. She can feel it. The breath comes in shallow waves. Her stomach growls, but the sound is hollow, as if it echoes from someone else's belly. She no longer bleeds. She no longer hungers. She only waits. Time has slowed to a stop. She once begged for death. Then she feared it. Now she greets it like an old acquaintance she never truly wanted to see again. She tries to remember her first sin. Not the punishments she gave in public, the ones with witnesses and rules. No, her true first sin. The one that made her who she became. It might have been a kiss, a secret one behind the chapel, with a maid who wore flowers in her hair. She'd been 16. The girl had laughed. Elizabeth had bitten her lip, drawn blood. The taste had startled her and thrilled her. She never saw that girl again. Perhaps it was that moment, or perhaps it was the first time she raised her hand in anger and no one stopped her. The power was addictive, more intoxicating than wine, more lasting than touch. No one ever said no to her again, until now. Now the whole world is saying no, in silence, in rot, in forgetting. The stone beneath her is slick with moisture. Her breath leaves her in soft gas. She opens her eyes in the dark. There is nothing to see, but in her mind, a scene unfolds. She is standing in her chambers again. There is a mirror on the wall, whole, polished, gold-rimmed. She is beautiful, ageless. Her skin is ivory, her hair like a dark river, her eyes violet and full of light. She is dressed in red, the red of roses, not blood. Behind her, the doors open. One by one, the girls enter. Hundreds, thousands, all silent, all still. They do not scream. They do not run. They kneel. Elizabeth turns toward them. She lifts her hands, but they rise, and in one motion, they reach for her. She gasps. The vision breaks. She is back in the dark, and her heart is fluttering like a dying moth. Her mouth is dry. Her hands tremble. Her body has soaked through her thin bedding with sweat. She rolls to her side and hears something tear inside her. It doesn't hurt. Nothing does anymore. Her mind drifts. She imagines the castle falling into ruin, the vines crawling up its walls, the villagers picking through the stones for firewood, the name Báthory fading from lips and ledgers alike. Her legacy, not in law or blood, but in whispers, in nightmare. She thinks of what might have been. Had she chosen mercy? Had she learned to love something other than control? Had she said yes to that priest's offer of last confession? But she said nothing. Even now she says nothing. There are no final words. No one is coming. Not the king, not the priest, not her children, not even the ghosts. Her breathing slows. She closes her eyes and sees nothing. And this time, it stays that way. They found her body 4 weeks later, or 5. The records don't agree. She was curled on her side, hands tucked under her chin like a child. Her eyes were closed, her mouth slightly open. No sign of struggle. She looked peaceful, as if the silence had finally wrapped itself around her like a blanket, as if she had sunk into it willingly. There was no funeral, no marker, no tomb. They bricked over the wall again. Countess stood for another century before falling to ruin. Today, only fragments remain, stones scattered like bones on a hillside. Tourists visit, take photos, whisper stories. They say the Blood Countess still haunts the castle, that her breath lingers in the stone, that if you press your ear to the wall, you can hear her whispering still. Not screams, not curses, just a single question over and over again. Do you remember me?